exciting to be here. It's like I said, for you all, it's been a year journey to get to this point. For me, it's been nearly 6 months, and it's truly a joy to finally see this day come about. It's good that my first day at work starts here on Sunday and on a Sunday, and and I've been blessed to really have careers that I've never really felt like I was going to work. My first career was in the golf business, and you just gone to play golf. Actually, I'd just gone to the golf course and enjoyed that for a number of years. I was a club professional, and that got me lots of different places, but eventually brought me back home. We're from the Centerville, Richmond area. My wife's from Richmond, and she's a Red Devil. You guys probably, any Bearcats here might not like too many Red Devils, but I'm a Bulldog, and you guys didn't play us, and if you did, you beat us. But anyway, just grew up in Centerville area, and my golf career brought us back, and it was good to be back home. And my two daughters were going to the school that I had grown up in, and I kind of figured I'd settle down there and retire at some point in the future. And God had other plans. We began attending my childhood church, Centerville United Methodist, by a long route back to that church. But at that time, God was in the process of calling people into ministry, and I was one of those people that heard the call. That really, it was a culmination of many things that really began with Fellowship of Christian Athletes working in their golf ministry. I did that for a number of years as a golf professional, and at one point in that process, I knew that someday I'd be into full-time ministry. I just kind of figured it'd be when I retired, and God had other plans, and like I said, brought me to the Centerville Church and allowed me to hear His call into ministry. For me and my family, and really it was a discernment which way I was going to go. It came down to prayer and discernment with Debbie and I. It felt like something we would be doing together, and I knew if it was golf ministry, that wouldn't be something we'd do together. But so she likes golf, but she's a runner, and she just finished the mini marathon not too long ago. Fortunately, she didn't hurt her back before that. You saw maybe she walking a little gingerly. I jokingly told Ron that she didn't roll over very well earlier this week when she tried to roll over the ottoman at our house and end up hurting her back. So prayers appreciated there. But so anyway. Heard that call into ministry.
And tell us about that. Tell us about that's one of the questions. What's your call look like? What happened?
Well, it began really at first that just a longing in my heart to be in full-time ministry. Loved to be able to do that in the golf business. And then when I came to the Centerville Church, I heard the call for myself, but then part of the discernment process for me was there were several people being called into ministry. And I thought, well, am I just jumping on the bandwagon? And God pointed me to the story of Esther, and for such a time as this. And that God had brought me back to Centerville, to my hometown. My kids were going to our homeschool. I was hoping to retire there and spend the rest of my life there. And yet, God's put that on my heart that He'd called me back to my hometown for such a time as this to be able to hear that call. And as a Methodist pastor, I know that my hometown is never going to be my hometown. We are blessed to now call Muncie, or the Muncie area, home, and Center Chapel our home now, and we're truly blessed and grateful for that. So that's part of that call, and then the pastoral ministry call came really out of Peter's story with Jesus after the resurrection, and when he jumps out of the boat, he was undressed, but decided to get dressed and jump out of the boat and swim on to Jesus, and which that was an interesting part of the story anyway. But just that reuniting or reinvigorating of Peter's call, that the threefold "Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me?" and feed my sheep was the call that Peter received that day and was reminded of that day, and that really was where where God put that sense in my heart to feed God's sheep and to pastor. If you ask me what I want to be called, I don't necessarily want to be called Reverend. That's a little bit too formal for me. Damon's actually is more than fine, but if you want to use a title, pastor is what I choose and what I identify, because I sense that call as a pastor, as a shepherd of the flock, and grateful to be that. I've been part of the flock for a long time, still am part of the flock, but I just get to be the shepherd with the cane,
I know
a sheep
that
with cane.
the call is a precious part of becoming a pastor.
Right.
And when you look at that and you remember it, it just becomes the cornerstone of what we do in
Amen.
ministry. So we appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yep.
Now, somebody asked about your education. Where did you go to school, and what's your educational background?
Okay. My undergraduate, after Centerville High School, went to Indiana University, and I was graduated in 1987, last national championship, unfortunately last one, but more on the way soon. And but anyway, graduated in business from Indiana University. A business marketing degree is my undergraduate degree, then. As I received the call into ministry, I went to Asbury Seminary, which is down in Wilmore, Kentucky, which is near Lexington. And it was just wonderful seminary education. It really was, when I began to look at seminaries, I didn't really look at any other ones. United at the time was closer to where we physically lived, because we lived in the Centerville, Richmond area. But at that time, it was not one that I was really interested in. It's a very good seminary, but Asbury is just its understanding of Wesleyan theology and just the high view of Scripture and the holiness of heart and life that really permeated me, invited me to be part of that. And one of the things that was so cool, real quickly, about seminary is we went down there and I noticed all over campus there was prayer rooms. In every building there's at least one prayer room. Most buildings had a prayer room on each floor. I thought that's really cool. I'd be able to, I liked that fact that the focus was on prayer. But I always thought, well, they'd probably be empty most of the time. Well, what I find out when I went down there is I went into one prayer room, and the first time I tried to find one, I had to get to the third prayer room before I could find one that was vacant. I did find that it was a place of prayer, and that really helped shape me a lot as well. So.
Wow. We've got some good prayer stuff going on around here, too.
So,
so you'll fit right in on that. This isn't your first church, correct? You've been in Logansport. Is that correct? So that was your first church?
Nope.
No, not your first church. What was your first church?
My first church was while I was in seminary, and I served at Aurora, First United Methodist Church, and Aurora is down on the river. How many of you know where Aurora is? You got a couple. Lawrenceburg, more people kind of know where Lawrenceburg is. Aurora and Lawrenceburg are about the same size, but Aurora doesn't really have a school anymore. It's South Dearborn High School, and so often you don't know cities because they don't have a school named with them. But served in Aurora, and for 1 year after I graduated seminary, they made that a full-time appointment, and they added a second church, which was Moores Hill. And if you don't know Aurora, you definitely don't know Moores Hill. Moores Hill was the start of Evansville University. Was started at Moores Hill and then moved to Evansville at one time in the early 1900s. But then went from there to Brownstown United Methodist Church, with Brownstown's by Seymour, and was blessed to serve there for just a little over 4 years, and then served in Logansport for 5 years prior to coming here. So I've done the Methodist itinerancy. When we, as Methodists, we understand our call is to the church, and we are sent by the church to serve churches. And I have been blessed everywhere we have been. It's been very hard to say goodbye, but we've also every time looked very much forward to saying hello to the new church we were coming to, and that's been very much the case here as well.
Well, we're excited to have you here. Tell us about what maybe some of the plans are that you're thinking about for Center Chapel. Have you had anything come to you that you go, yeah, that's something I really want to do, or I really want to see happen?
Well, one of the things you'll find about me is I first want to know you. and one of the things that really was fit my call into ministry, I very much am relationship oriented, wanting to get to know people and getting to know the church. and get a feel for the church. So I don't come here with an agenda. I know there's a lot of change going on. So the one thing I'm not going to say is we're going to make all kinds of more changes. We're going to kind of live through these new changes. We've all been in a lot of transition recently, and mine have been on the other side of things. But I know you all have made a lot of transitions, and there's still some more to come. And I'm excited about those within the building and places. For instance, the cafe area. One of the things that really leads to my heart. I changed a couple years ago in my style of preaching. You'll notice that most of the time when I preach, I'm going to be sitting right here with my Bible in front of me, and that the reason for that is God laid it on my heart, kind of a personal call to be a safe place for people to have unsafe conversations. We live in a time in a world that it is a very difficult place to live, and you might notice that people don't have very good conversations. They talk at somebody, and they don't really listen, and they don't really care that you listen to them. They just want to give you their opinion, and I think as Christians, as followers of Christ, we need to be people that have opinions, but we also need to be able to hear and listen and be able to communicate. And so I wanted to be able to create a safe place for people to have unsafe conversations. And that's one thing I love about the cafe area. I noticed when I came in, there was a lot of people having a lot of conversations. It's kind of loud in there at times, which is great, but it's also a place where you can maybe have some serious and some real conversations, not just about the weather and those things. It can be about politics, and it can be about faith and religion, but it can be a conversation that's real, and you can share your love of Christ with one another and have that safe place. So, like I said, I even changed my preaching style to map that, because I want my preaching to feel more like a conversation, though, you're welcome to talk during it if you want to, during my sermons, but most of the time, I'm probably not going to give you much time to talk. I'll talk a lot. So.
Well, and that answers my next question, and that is someone wanted to know if you had a sense of humor, and so we're glad that you've got that. One person asked if you plan to do hospital visits.
Yes, I do. Actually, the other side, I talked about being relationship-oriented. One of the things I enjoy doing is getting to know people and living life with people. And part of life, we realize, is sometimes in the hospital. God saw fit for it that the year that I went into the ministry, that January, I started in the summer. That January, I came down with histoplasmosis, ended up in the hospital for about 3 days. And it gave me a new perspective coming out of that. Most of the time when I got sick before, I never actually had a sick day prior to that. I just worked through my sicknesses, if that made sense, and just pressed through it. I thought, yeah, just get over it and get gone. That's kind of was my perception of things, and I found out I couldn't. And God gave me the strength to get through that time, but I had a lot of people that were praying and working with me. But that relationship, that understanding, one, the church ministered to me at that time, and also God had given me opportunities prior to being a pastor in one denomination, the Christian Missionary Alliance, a church that we'd been part of as well. I was a deacon there, where part of our role there was visitation ministry, and that was one thing as a pastor. I've always thought that was part of what the pastor did, not the only thing what the pastor does, but always part of what the pastor does, and so I felt, with that call that, yeah, I know I have that gift. I enjoy that, and I enjoy those visits and hospitals or at home or elsewhere. So that will definitely be part of it. I know a church of this size, if it's just me, you're not being visited well enough, and so it won't be just me. It'll be a team of us, but that'll be a priority for me as well.
Awesome. How about other interests? People would like to know, what are your other interests? We know you're interested in the PGA. Somebody asked, what do you not like about the PGA? So,
yeah, well, what I don't like about the PGA is sometimes the pace of play, and it's really I can watch a golf tournament however slow it's going, and that's fine. I know the intricacies of golf, and I enjoy that. The thing that I don't like about the pace of play that you see on TV is when the rest of us get out there and golf and we think we have to do the same thing that we see them doing, and we read our charts for the greens. Actually, we don't get those things, but I'm glad we don't have those available to us to slow us down even more. So that's the only thing not a whole lot I don't like about the PGA. So
Other hobbies, interests?
other hobbies, Debbie and I very much like outdoor activities. We enjoy hiking. We enjoy camping. We found out a couple of years ago, or last summer, we went up to the Upper Peninsula, and we were, what was it, Debbie, 8 miles to the nearest restroom, and the last light pole we saw was 8 miles away, and we we just really enjoyed that. Just I jokingly told the Logan Sport Church, it seemed like every time I went camping somewhere, I got out of cell phone range, and that was not intentional, but that was a nice benefit. And we were way out of cell phone range where we were at last year, and we just really enjoy that. It's time to get away and recreate, and so walking. You'll see us walking. We do some biking. We'd like to do more biking. It's a nice thing. We live close to the Cardinal Greenway. We've ridden the part in the Richmond area. We're thinking one day we might take the challenge and drive or ride our bikes back to Richmond to see some family, and probably won't do that in a single day, but we'll drive there in a single day and rest for a couple days and come back. So, but some of the things we enjoyed, Debbie enjoys running. I do not. So when we first got married, I ran with her, but I decided I didn't need to impress her anymore, so I stopped. So.
Very good. All right. Tell us, what's one thing we can do as a congregation to make your Sundays easier?
I tell you what, it was really good to come into this place today and just to enter into worship with you all. I can tell you worship well. One of the things God put on my heart, it was totally irrelated to my move here, but we often make worship about us, and it's about God. And I really got that impression, because this is a day that you could make it about somebody else. You could make it about me, and I don't want it be about me. But just really was able to come in and be in a spirit of worship with the congregation. That the attention isn't drawn to any one person. It's to focus on God. And when we have a new person come, and our goal is not to let them know how great we are, but to let them know how great our God is, and teach them to praise our God with us. And so hopefully that's something we can do together. What you can do for me is just keep it up. What you've been doing so far, if I could bottle it up and said this, send it out to all the churches and how to welcome a new pastor, I would just do it the way you did it. And I wouldn't write a book. I'd say, well, just talk to Center Chapel, how the cards, the welcomes, just the support. As you know, we've had a couple of challenges in this, and not just for us. Our mother-in-law is here with us, Diana Johnson. We would certainly appreciate prayers for her as well. She had an auto accident about a month ago and had some brain trauma as a result of that we didn't know about till the boxes got unloaded. This is the literal account of things on Tuesday. The boxes got unloaded at noon. We got together real quickly to get our stuff to go back to my dad's house in Richmond area and get our dog Amadeus, because we'd been without him. We've been on a mission trip, and we've been without him for over a week. We had to get our dog, and so we got back to. We dropped some stuff off here. Saw the leadership team. We literally left the church. That's when Debbie's mom called us and said, "Hey, I'm not feeling real well, and can you ask if Debbie could take her to the doctor?" And by the time we got to the bypass, she called back and said the doctor said go to the emergency room. So we turned around and got some clothes, and and then a couple days later, she's able to be here. We bought a house with that in mind, that we could accommodate our mother-in-law or my father, or for us when we retire. If we don't want steps, we don't have to have steps in our house. So that it was good that made it The other thing too, which is goes to family, and I know we'll have a couple more things here, but goes to family. We have 2 daughters. I didn't mention that. Sarah is my oldest. She has 2 sons. She lives in Indianapolis, and she's a nurse. She has 2 sons, Elijah and Noah, and Elijah's 9, Noah's 4, and then we have our youngest daughter, Caitlin, lives in the Columbus area, or lives in Columbus, Indiana, and she's due to have a baby. The due date was on my birthday, July 21st, but we have found out that she's not going to get to due date. That Ron doesn't know this yet. This is news for Ron, so there might be a Sunday that I'm gone, depending on when things happen. So, Ron. Hope you have a sense of humor.
I try. I try. So your birthday's July 21st.
Yep.
Mine is July 20th.
Yep. There we go.
Package deal. So see, you can take us out to eat.
Yeah,
you can do all those
we're
good things.
we're available. We're available.
So we'd be happy to accommodate you.
But so we'll have our 3rd grandson. We actually found out this week it'll be before July 14th. We know that if it doesn't happen by then, the doctors will make it happen. And so she's gestational diabetic, and so they want to make sure the baby comes a little bit early. So
Wow.
we're going to be grandparents again. A lot going on in the Soper household.
Oh my gosh. Well, and you've probably noticed we have a few babies around here.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
My mom left the service a couple weeks ago. She said, "Man, you got more babies than I've ever seen." So we got lots of things going on in the children's department and the
Yeah.
babies.
Amen.
What do you see that when you look around there, what's exciting for you? What's one thing you go, "Wow, I'm really excited about this at Center Chapel"?
Really, what excites me the most is I see leadership, but I see leadership teams, if that makes sense. I see a group of people leading in different areas, and that for me, with relationship being important to me, that I see that in those who are leading the congregation in the different areas, in children and youth. We came and spent a night with youth group and had a great evening that night. And what a great leadership team you have there. It's that you have the perfect youth leader. You figured out how to do that. You get 4 of them.
That's right.
Because maybe Ron was the perfect youth leader a few years back, but a youth leader has to do so many things and wear so many hats and has to be ultra organized and super flexible and fun and creative and all of those things. Normally, somebody that's ultra organized is not going to be fun and creative, but yet you need that. And you've got that in your youth leader. You just figured out you needed to have four of them to make that. And children's ministry, just the more, and this will get into my conversation later, a little bit later with you. But the more I've talked to people, the more I've seen how ministry takes place in this congregation, in this church. I've just got more excited. The leadership, the people that you have, you are the church, and I'm part of you now, and I'm thankful for that. But you've understood that in all your roles and in small groups. My wife was able to, when I was meeting youth group, she was able to set in with a small group, and Sunday school, and all of those things that you do, and just the traffic that this week I was here just a couple of days through the day. The traffic through the church is great to see the people that are here. Just you could tell it's part of their life, and that's good.
Well, I've saved the last question purposely to be last, and I think it's a question that probably echoes in every single one of our hearts, and that is, can you help me to be a better Christian?
I thought you were going to say golfer.
I don't think you can help me be a better golfer.
I was going to say, oh no. Yes, we can help each other be a better Christian. As a pastor, I understand my call as a pastor is to equip and prepare the saints for the work of ministry. That doesn't mean that I don't do the work of ministry. I certainly enter into it with you. But my call is to equip you and prepare you for the work of ministry that you have, that you're called to do. All of us have a call. We often think about pastors who are called into the ministry. But did you know that each and every one of you have a call from God. First, it's that call into relationship with God through Jesus Christ. But it's that second part of the call that often we miss, that God calls us into ministry and into relationship with others. And for me, it's to help you discern that. Certainly I want to make sure that you know and you understand that first call into relationship with God through Jesus Christ. But all of us are called to be ministers. And some of us are called to equip those into ministry. And that's my call, to equip you and to help you.
I thought you said whip, not equip.
Okay, whip you into shape. Exactly.
Whoa,
That's
get
that.
ready.
That would be that. It's helpful, and I've been told that maybe I need one of those. So, I remember an Indiana Jones moment. I think it was sometime happened this week, but anyway, but no, I'm not going to whip you. I will work to equip you for the work of ministry. You're the ones that are doing the ministry, and it's my role, my job. Part of my role and job is to equip you to do that work. So if you think you're coming just to sit in the church on Sundays and that's all you're called to do, well, you're going to find out differently, you'll find out differently. But also, it's just living out your relationship with Jesus in front of other people so that they might want to be part of that as well.